He was born into a world that had already judged him. To many, he was just the son of a cleaning lady, a boy meant to stay invisible, silent, and small. But one day, in a room full of wealth and pride, he revealed something that no one expected. The laughter around him quickly froze, turning into disbelief. How could someone they dismissed so easily carry a power they never imagined? And why did this moment leave even the richest man speechless? The truth you're about to hear isn't just about one boy. It's about what happens when prejudice collides with undeniable brilliance.
For most of his life, Malik lived quietly in the background. His mother worked endless hours cleaning houses, her hands rough from scrubbing floors that never felt like her own. Malik studied hard, always hungry for knowledge, dreaming of a life beyond the labels people placed on him. He spoke softly, kept to himself, and carried the weight of being underestimated every single day. To the world, he was just the cleaning lady's son. But what no one saw was the brilliance he had been carefully nurturing, something extraordinary that would soon collide with prejudice in a way no one could ignore. And on that day, surrounded by eyes filled with arrogance, his life was about to shift forever.
The room was filled with polished shoes, gold watches, and voices that carried the weight of inherited power. Malik sat quietly at the edge, his mother's presence lingering in the background as she tidied the space with silent dignity. The guests barely noticed her, except to mock. "The cleaning lady's son," they whispered, some loud enough for him to hear. The words weren't meant to wound softly. They were meant to stick, to remind him of where he didn't belong. Laughter bubbled up around him, casual and cruel, as if mocking him was part of the entertainment. Malik's heart raced, but not from shame. He had grown used to this rhythm of dismissal, this chorus of doubt. Yet that day felt different, sharper. One man in particular, wealthy, loud, and unrestrained, leaned back in his chair and smirked. "Tell me, boy," he sneered, "what do you know of the world beyond your mother's broom?" The crowd chuckled, eager for a performance at Malik's expense. All eyes turned to him, expecting silence, maybe a stumble, something to confirm their belief that he was beneath them.
The moment stretched long and heavy. Malik's chest tightened. He could hear his mother's broom swishing in the background, her presence both grounding and heartbreaking. He remembered the nights she whispered to him, "Your mind is your freedom. They can't take that from you." Her words pulsed through him now. But how much should he reveal? Could speaking up turn the laughter into something far more dangerous? Still, the sneers pressed in, the crowd waiting, the silence suffocating. Then, with steady breath, Malik began to speak. His voice was calm, deliberate, carrying words in a language none of them expected. The laughter stopped mid-breath, brows furrowed, eyes widened. Before they could recover, he switched seamlessly into another tongue, then another. French, Mandarin, Arabic, Spanish, Russian, each word precise, confident, undeniable. The room, once roaring with arrogance, now hung suspended in stunned silence. The very people who had mocked him leaned forward, unsure whether to be impressed, embarrassed, or threatened. But beneath the awe, Malik could still feel something darker, the refusal to accept what they had just witnessed. Shock could quickly twist into resentment, into anger. And as he prepared to share yet another language, the question pulsed in the air like a storm about to break. What would they do now that the boy they ridiculed had shattered their expectations?
The laughter that once filled the room had vanished, replaced by an uneasy silence. Malik's voice, steady and unshaken, carried the weight of every language he spoke. But just as all began to flicker in their eyes, the wealthy man who had mocked him earlier slammed his hand against the table. The sound cracked like thunder, jolting everyone back into the reality of power. "Enough!" he barked, his face twisted with anger. "Parlor tricks, nothing more." His words dripped with venom, desperate to strip Malik of the dignity he had just claimed.
The air thickened. The crowd, caught between admiration and prejudice, shifted uncomfortably. Some whispered in disbelief, others smirked to cover their unease. Malik could feel the tide turning, not toward respect, but toward hostility. His mother froze in the corner, clutching her broom as if it were a shield. Her eyes begged him to stop, to retreat, to protect himself from the danger that pride and truth had stirred. But Malik couldn't. Not now. Not after years of silence, years of swallowing insults meant to bury him. He raised his chin and spoke once more, this time in their own language, clear, unflinching, and laced with a truth they could not dismiss. "I am not invisible. I am not what you call me. I am more." The words rang out, echoing against marble walls that had never held such defiance. For a moment, time seemed to hold its breath. The guests stared, some with jaws tight in fury, others with eyes wide in reluctant recognition. The wealthy man's face darkened, his pride bruised, his control slipping. Malik had broken through the barrier of their prejudice, and now the question burned in the room. Would they destroy him for daring to rise, or be forced to confront the brilliance they could no longer deny? When the last words left Malik's lips, the room seemed to shift. Some lowered their eyes, unwilling to face what they had just witnessed. Others, stiff with pride, clung to silence rather than admit the truth. And yet, in that heavy pause, something irreversible had happened. Malik had claimed his place. He had shown, not just to them, but to himself, that no insult, no prejudice, no dismissal could erase the brilliance within him. For his mother, tears welled quietly in her eyes, not from sadness, but from recognition. Her son had spoken not only for himself, but for every unseen, unheard child like him. In that moment, he was no longer just the cleaning lady's son. He was a reminder, a challenge, a living truth they could not bury under their laughter. The night ended without applause, without acceptance, but with a silence louder than any mockery. Malik walked out with his mother at his side, head high, steps firm. He had faced the weight of arrogance and left standing, unbroken. Yet the bitterness remained. Why must brilliance be proven twice over simply because of the color of one's skin? Why must worth be questioned before it is seen? This was not just Malik's story. It is the story of countless others who are underestimated, ridiculed, and silenced before they are given a chance to shine. And so the question lingers for all of us. How many more voices will we ignore before we finally learn to listen?